Within the Y, as your role as the Senior Operations Director of Community Health, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I support our programs for chronic disease management and prevention. And those largely include our weight loss programs, or they do, I should say, include our weight loss programs, because we know that weight loss is the number one quote unquote controllable thing that somebody can do to intervene or prevent any kind of chronic disease. And so a chronic disease could be diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and it runs the gamut of other conditions as well, even cancer. So we know that weight is correlated with all of those different diseases.
So, what do you feel like is more important, diet or exercise, when it comes to weight loss?
So it's a combination, right? Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
have one without the other. It's peanut butter and jelly, and they have to work together for success. We find oftentimes when we're talking with our members or participants in our programs that they tend to reach a plateau when they have only incorporated one or the other. So they might see an immediate or a quick progress or weight loss, but then it quickly levels off because they're only doing one or the other, and they work together very closely around choices that we make around nutrition, and then also the types of physical activity that we might choose to do.
Okay. Uh, so, when someone does start to incorporate a new diet or they start to exercise again, typically how long does it take for them to start seeing results?
So everybody's different. There's no one size fits all plan. There's no one size fits all to nutrition. There's no one size fits all to physical activity. Um, but if somebody, it's based around goals. So identifying what your goal might be and setting a realistic goal, a short-term goal, and then working towards that goal and coming up with strategies to obtain that goal. So for example, it could be, I'm going to incorporate physical activity 3 times this week at 30 minutes. And I'm going to make a different choice around my nutrition, right? So they could start to see results within a couple weeks, but they also might not see results for a month or so. It just depends on the types of activity or the types of choices or strategies that are set in place to achieve the goal. Everybody is very different.
So, you said physical activity for 30 minutes, 3 times a week. Is that a minimum, or is that an average for what's needed for weight loss?
So there are a lot. The standard recommendation is 150 minutes a week. So that breaks out to around 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. But if it's the first time you're starting physical activity, that's a lot, right? It's intimidating. It's hard. It's hard to incorporate into a routine. Our body isn't used to it. So if we say my goal is to start with 3 days or 2 days, that's progress, right? We just want to see some progression that's realistic and that's going to help you be able to maintain that new habit, because it's going to be new. And so once you're comfortable with 3 days, then maybe we do 3 days at 40 minutes, or we add 4 days at 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, again, is going to be a little bit different, but what the most important piece is whatever is going to work for you.
That makes sense. So I know that there's been times where I haven't been in the gym in a while, and I'll go back in there, and after a workout, especially 2 or 3 days later, I'm incredibly sore. Do you have any advice for recovery for someone that's new into the gym?
Do it again.
Yeah.
Keep the muscle learning what that new exercise or activity is. It's that pain is just delayed onset of muscle soreness. So that means you've worked the muscle in a new way. You're shocking, if you will, shocking the muscle. So it's the first time it's experienced this, or it's been a long time since it's experienced that motion or that weight or that resistance. And so the best way to overcome it is to do it again and get the muscle used to doing that type of new activity. Now with that, you want to make sure it's the muscle and it's a safe, if you will, safe pain or an okay pain. If you're feeling extreme pain in a joint, or you can tell this just isn't feeling right, then you should stop immediately and then call your doctor. We want to make sure there's different kinds of pain, right? So making sure that you're making the muscle work a little bit harder than what it's used to. That's an okay pain versus, oh, we might have pulled a muscle or a tendon or something worse.
So what advice do you have to make sure people don't pull muscle? Is it just to do lighter weight, or is it to make sure you understand what motions that you're doing?
All of the above.
Yeah.
So, right, you're not going to walk in for the first time and bench press 150 pounds. That would not, right? If your body isn't used to doing that, you don't want to hurt your body. So it's always best to err on the side of caution for the first time you work out and start on the very low side. It's a lot easier to add weight in small increments than to start at a really high level and hurt yourself. And so you might start off with 25 pounds and you're like, oh my gosh, this is silly. Why am I doing this? This is so easy. Right? But it's the safer way to go. And sustainability for you to be successful is going to be important for you to do it safely. If you hurt yourself, then you got to stop, and then you're right back to where we started, right? So starting lower and progressing slowly up is going to be the safer way. And then once you figure out what is that comfort level where you're just pushing a little bit more, that's where we would recommend to start.
Great. So if someone has stopped losing weight while they've been, after they've been losing weight for weeks at a time, or maybe even a month, what do you think is the main reason for what they're doing wrong?
It could be a variety of reasons. Our bodies get used to what we're doing, right? So it could just be a natural plateau. And so I would recommend working with a trainer. At any of our locations, we have trainers that can help have that conversation and say, well, what are your goals? And let's figure out how to overcome that plateau. Whether it's a weight loss goal or if it's training for the marathon that we hopefully get to have this year, whatever that is, right? Let's figure out how to overcome that plateau by adjusting your workout. And that could be longer stretches in your routine, your exercise routine. That could be changing your entire mode of exercise. That could be changing the resistance in your weight training. So it's really going to depend on what an individual goal is. And then also what's going to help them be safe, right? You're always going to hear me come back to safety. It's important that we're doing and changing things safely.
Absolutely. So I think a big reason or a big area that a lot of people get frustrated with is the stubborn belly and thigh fat. And for some reason, it can never go away. Is there a secret to getting rid of those?
Nope, no secret. Everybody gains weight in different places and everybody loses weight in different places. And oftentimes they don't correlate. So if you gain your weight in your tummy, you're probably not going to lose it in your tummy first. You're going to lose it somewhere else first. Spot reduction is a big myth in exercise and physical activity. The main thing is that you're, adjusting your heart rate to be at a rate that's going to be fat burning for your body. And then your body is going to decide where you do not need that fat the most, and it's going to make the decision for you. We do not get to control, sadly. I think we'd have it figured out by now if we did.
Yeah. So is it okay? So some people could lose belly and thighs right away, but I was always thinking it was they're typically the last to go.
It could be the last. It's just different for everybody.
Yeah.
People could lose it in other places too. Their arms, face. A lot of people carry weight in their face. They could lose it there. There's no magic bullet. There's no voodoo doll that says here, sadly.
So is there any way to keep people, so for someone who is constantly in the gym and maybe has a great diet, but they still can't seem to lose weight, or they might fluctuate and gain weight sometime, how do you keep those people motivated?
It's finding what people enjoy to do. So, and I'd say even our most dedicated users of our facilities, sorry, just trying to turn that down and it's not turning down. Our dedicated users even get in funks, right? And they say, I just need a break. I'm not ready to come back in. And so it's figuring out whatever might work for you as an individual. So does that mean getting a workout buddy? Maybe you weren't using a workout buddy before. Does that mean working with a trainer to change up your routine? So because you're just bored, right? It's monotonous and you're over it. Is it changing something as part of your overall habits? Do we need to look at your nutrition choices, right? Are there any modifications there that we can make? Is it just going to a new location, right? If we walk into the same thing and we see the same things every day, are we just blind and bored with what we're doing? So it's really finding what is going to help you stay interested and keep you interested in it. And then I would also say one of the things that we know and science can prove is that accountability person. So even when you do get bored and maybe you already have an accountability buddy or a workout buddy, they will help you. Science shows that they help you, having that person helps you stay motivated. Comes in, it's right, like, oh, I got to go in. Mary's waiting for me. I need to be there. Or if you don't have that, finding that accountability buddy to help you. I'm sure everybody that's here has had somebody, a walking buddy or an exercise buddy or whoever it might be. And it's also more fun, right? Like I get to talk to somebody while I'm doing this.
I agree. I think social interaction with it is important. Like I find that I can go to the gym and work out, but if I'm going to a class or something that has a time schedule, then it motivates me a lot more because I'm there in the class and I'm doing whatever they're telling me to do, and that's that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And similarly, a lot of people have success putting it on their calendar. So maybe it's not an exercise class per se that maybe you're just not a group expert. I'm not, because I would fall. So but putting it on my calendar, right, and saying at 11:30 I'm going to go, and I know who I'm going to see when I'm there because same people working, or I'm going to go meet my workout buddy, whoever. Even blocking that time as a level of self accountability can help support that goal too.
So, how much of a factor does stress play into weight gain?
A lot. We have science around that. Increased cortisol levels, decreased sleep levels. When we lose sleep, we tend to eat about 300 more calories per day. So if we're stressed, which is causing us not to sleep, it's going to cause us to eat later in the day. And then probably those things that we're eating later in the day are more feel-good foods versus high nutrition value or high stock value foods, right? They're more probably candy or junk food or the easy access snacky type food. So we know that stress and sleep are highly correlated to our ability to manage or maintain our weight.
Yeah, it sounds like on our last wellness forum, Andrew discussed the importance of a calorie tracker.
Yes.
And that sounds like that would be the ideal situation for that as well.
Yes.
So for someone who drinks a lot of water, does that help with weight loss? Does water before meals help with weight loss? What's the story behind water?
Yeah, so water is a great tool. I'll use the word tool for us. Number one, it keeps us hydrated, and our body needs to stay hydrated just to function properly. Taking weight out of it, right? But just to function properly, we know that our body is primarily made up of water. So keeping us hydrated is going to help us on lots of different platforms. But then in terms of food or hunger, typically if you're hungry, particularly like right before bed, and you're like, oh, I want that midnight snack or that bedtime snack or whatever, drinking the water can help your body feel full. And so it will divert your attention and tell your brain you're not really hungry, right? You just want something. You're just craving something. It's the action of needing something. And so water is a great thing to use throughout the day. Let's see, I have my very large water bottle. There it is, sitting right here with me. But if you carry that water around, it's going to, number one, just be good for your body and how your body is operating and functioning inside. But then it's also going to help you manage the other things that you're putting in your body. So you're feeling more full. And then compared to other drinks, water is calorie-less, it's fat-less, it's sugarless, right? So it's a great choice when we're looking at our nutrition content, because we sometimes, when we're keeping that calorie tracker, like you just mentioned, we're really good at forgetting our beverages. So whether that is a soda, whether it is a cocktail, those carry lots of weight when it comes to what are, no pun intended, when it comes to our calories and what we're actually consuming. So water is a great alternative to be able to feel full and to stay hydrated.
So in with calorie counting, creating nutritional plans can be very daunting for people. Does the Y create those custom plans for people?
Yeah, so we have a couple different things that we do. We have a handful of weight loss programs that we offer at the Y. Each one is a little bit different based on the individual and what they might be looking for. And I did post this in the Facebook group. It was probably Thursday or Friday last week at this point. And I can share my screen too a little bit later to show you the upcoming sessions that we have. But in those sessions, we specifically talk about creating a nutrition plan that works for me, right? So it's not me saying, okay, Brian, here's what you need to do, because that's hard, right? You're like, well, this isn't what I normally buy, or this isn't available at my grocery store, or I don't like that vegetable. So that's not going to be realistic. So we work with you and have conversation around, well, what is it that you like? What are the foods that you like? What are the meals you like? What does your after work routine look like? Are you playing parent taxi, or you're on the go and so you're looking at drive-throughs, or maybe your access is really different and you don't have a grocery store nearby. So we do work with our individuals in our programs to come up with a nutrition plan that works for them and or their family. And then we also do have a registered dietitian where we have consults available in packages as well.
Okay, so from your experience, what do you find are some of the most unhealthy foods that people don't realize are unhealthy?
So we are really big proponents of not saying this or that,
Mhm.
because that's not going to be realistic. For example, yesterday was Mardi Gras and we had king cake at my house, which was phenomenal. And I had, it was terrible though. I purposely take the nutrition value off and throw it away and don't look at it because I know how terrible it is. Because for us, we realize that this is part of our lifestyle, right? And so if I say I can never have that, I'm going to hate trying to work towards it and achieve my goal. But instead we say, well, how does this help or help my goal, my end goal? How does this impact my daily caloric and fat intake goal, or my weekly caloric and fat intake goal? So maybe I made that decision last night to have some really yummy king cake from New Orleans, or how do I make my decision today to change it out and not have any sweets and focus on some foods that I do like that have a better nutritional content and are going to help support my goal.
Absolutely. And I've heard that having one cheat day a week or having a cheat meal per week can be beneficial. Do you agree with that?
So it works really well for some people, and some people it
Hmm.
doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So again, we are big proponents of personal successes, and we want to
Hmm.
set you up for personal successes, and we'll talk through that, particularly in those classes when we're coming up with the nutrition. What's our nutrition goals? What's my caloric goal? What's my fat intake goal? And figure out, well, yeah, if you want to say you're going to have this many fat calories, do you want to save them all for Saturday, or do you want to spread it out through the week? What is realistic based on your family's lifestyle?
Hmm. And speaking of food, I feel like some fruits are sugary. I know it's natural sugar, but should some fruits be avoided?
Again, it all plays into your overall goals and what you're
Hmm.
trying to manage. So if you have type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes, you're going to look at fruits really differently than somebody without diabetes might look at it. And you might choose your fruit differently. The starchier fruits, which are higher sugar content, or even starchy vegetables for that matter, versus something that's more leafy or doesn't have that higher sugar content. Fruits are still good. They have lots of other benefits to them, antioxidants and other vitamins that are really important for our bodies to get. So, right, we can't just talk about weight loss. What are the other things that our body needs? We still need protein. We still need fiber. We still need the plethora of vitamins that are available, because otherwise your doctors are going to start talking about that, right? So now let's start taking supplements, or how can we compensate for this? We need to have balanced diets and making sure that all the choices that we're making around nutrition and foods are supporting that balance, that overall balance. Because typically if you're choosing one thing and you're focused on that one thing, you're leaving off a lot of other things that are important for your body.
I agree. And I think it can be really easy to, when you're counting what you eat, that you're only counting calories, carbs, fat, and protein. And some of these fruits don't have much of any of that. So you kind of just leave them out. But you're right, the antioxidants are essential.
Yep.
So do you find or do you feel that weight loss drinks or supplements, do they work?
So I go back to what are you putting in your body and what are you leaving out? When we
Hmm.
substitute um, supplements or substitutes, we typically are leaving something out that is really important for our bodies. So if we're having a shake of some sort, right, it might be really high in protein, but you're not going to get the nutritional value that that proteins typically have. The good fats, right? Or you might be leaving out some of those antioxidants if it's no sugar. Well, we do need some sugar. We need our body to burn something. We need those carbs to turn into sugars. We need to have our body functioning in a healthy way. So when we're looking at some of those substitute things, we have to be really careful to pay attention to how that is affected in our overall goals and plans. And then also talking with your doctor. And if your doctor's not quite sure, because not all doctors are experts in nutrition either, right? They are really smart in disease, but not necessarily so hot in nutrition, is talking with a registered dietitian and making sure that they are a registered dietitian. That's an important distinguished certification that they earn and have to maintain. And it's rigorous for them to get that. So not just any nutritionists off the street, if you will, making sure that they are a credible source and saying, hey, I'm thinking about this. What are your thoughts? How does it compare to my other choices that I want to make or these other foods that I'm interested in?
And I assume the Y has a registered dietitian.
We do have one, yes.
Are they accessible through email or is it all in person?
We're doing virtual, like Zooms right now, and then also in person. We are still doing some in person, but a lot of it right now is virtual.
Mm-hmm.
The nature of life.
Yeah, right. So for some people who might be opting for a sugar-free alternative to a food, do you find that could be more harmful than the original product with the sugar, since sugar-free means artificial sweetener typically?
Yeah, so natural sweeteners are going to be the best sweeteners, right? So going back to our fruits, have natural sweeteners, natural sugars, honey, natural maple syrup. Those natural sweeteners are always going to be the best choice if what you're putting into your body really matters in terms of reading that label and seeing what else is in that. Are there some people really are interested in the other ingredients, not just artificial sugars, but are there other processed ingredients in there? Are you really interested in organic foods? Are you really interested in the sugar content or the fat content, right? So depending on what the individual priority is going to make a determination of what's going to be important for that person. So artificial sugars are great, or the zeros, right? Like the zero drinks and foods types of things. And those can be great for people who are managing their sugar levels and only have so much. Maybe they have diabetes, but they have to have that soda every single day. It's part of what they do. So we want them to be successful. And if that helps them be successful, adding that zero sugar beverage, that's going to help them be successful in their long-term sustainability of whatever their goal might be.
So for when shopping for healthier food in the grocery store, isn't organic not um, like regulated?
Right. It is not. So again, it's going back to what is important to you. Organic might be important, which means could mean a lot of different things, but typically means that it doesn't have some additives, whatever additives might be. If you're talking about produce or meat, it's different for each section, if you will, of the grocery store, right? So it is not regulated, but if some people find that it's really important for them to not have any of those additives, and they want to focus on the organic options. Other people find that that's not within their budget, and that's okay, right? So we want to focus on the choices, the nutritional value of the choices that we're putting into our body and how they really help or support our goal.
So what do you find are some of the best ways to boost someone's metabolism?
There's a lot of things linked to metabolism. It's not just food, it's not just physical activity. So that is a conversation that you will need to have with your doctor. There are many chronic conditions that are correlated with metabolism and affect our metabolism. So if you are looking at your metabolism and you have some concerns about it, that is definitely a conversation with your healthcare provider, your healthcare team. But as we age, our metabolism does slow down, sadly. So what are you doing to negate that? How are you making choices that where your body can keep up based on your goals? So are we looking at your nutritional goals or your caloric goals, your caloric plan? Are we looking at physical activity and managing that as well? So just because I did nothing and I was able not to gain weight for 30 years, and then I hit my 30th birthday and all of a sudden my metabolism goes down, right? Oh, well, now maybe I have to start doing something. So there's no easy quick fix, but there's a lot of health conditions correlated to metabolism. It's also linked to age that we know. So doing something is probably your best bet. And then obviously a conversation with your healthcare provider.
So some people who fast, if you don't eat throughout the day, is it true that your metabolism starts to become more sluggish?
Again, it's I know I sound like a broken record, but everybody is so different. Some people's bodies respond positively, some people's bodies respond negatively, some people's emotions respond negatively, right? Like that's not going to work for me. I'm pregnant, and if I don't eat on a regular basis, nobody's going to want to be around me. So it really has to look at individual people and what's going to work for them, and looking again at what is your goal. Always going to come back to what is your goal and how are your choices on nutrition and your choices with physical activity supporting or hurting that goal.
I guess that's true. It can be challenging to have a blanket statement when everyone is different.
Everybody is very different, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you, I guess, just a couple more questions left, and then we can ask questions from anyone in the audience if anyone has any.
I only have a few minutes left, okay? I have like a 1:15, so I'm not sure if did Yvonne share that? Yeah.
Okay. I guess the last one is, if you have a big lunch, should you skip dinner?
How is it affecting your mood and your goals? I'm going to go back to that again, and what you're choosing for lunch, and how does that affect what you're choosing for dinner? So if you're having a salad for lunch and you're starving afterwards, what is that going to do for you at dinner? Is it going to set you up for a meal that you planned on, or is it going to set you up more of a binge type of meal? Or do you need to look at a higher caloric content meal? Maybe if you had a salad and it didn't have a lot of calories in it or a lot of protein, how are we making an adjustment at dinner? So that way you're feeling good and you're feeling full and you're feeling successful. Because if you're not feeling good, you're not going to be successful, and you're just going to go through this cycle.
All right, Jana. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to speak to us and let us know more about weight loss. And I do appreciate everyone else for attending today. And thank you guys for showing up. We do have tomorrow is Table Talks with Secretary Carey. Please check that out. And then next week, we have another wellness forum with Tracy Eikenberry, which is personal trainer and health coach, about finding your why and what motivates you and how you can stay fit and active and healthy. Thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.